After my sister threw me under the bus to police, my mom stormed into my apartment screaming, "I wish I'd aborted you," and demanded I confess to save her golden child. That's when my dad made a call that destroyed everything. Within 30 minutes of mom slamming my door, my phone rang. It was Dad, and his voice was ice cold. "Pack a bag. We're meeting with my attorney first thing tomorrow morning. Your mother just crossed a line she can't uncross." I could hear papers shuffling in the background. I've been documenting everything since this started, and it's time to play hardball. Here's what you need to understand about our family's financial situation. My dad built his construction business from nothing over 25 years. The company's worth about $3.2 million, with annual revenues around $1.8 million. He owns our family home outright, a $650,000 property, plus 2 rental properties worth $400,000 each. My mom works part-time at a dental office making $28,000 a year, but she's never had to worry about money because Dad handles everything. My sister Emma was supposed to be the golden child heading to college on Dad's dime. He'd already set aside $120,000 for her education in a 529 plan, plus promised to match any income she made during college summers up to $15,000 annually. Meanwhile, I'd been working since 16, paying my own rent of $950 a month on my apartment, and covering my $23,000 annual community college costs through my $31,000 warehouse job and student loans. But here's what my mom didn't know. Dad had been quietly grooming me to take over the business. For the past year, he'd been teaching me estimating, project management, and client relations. He'd put me on the company payroll at $18 an hour, officially making me an employee with benefits. My mom thought it was just part-time work, but Dad was systematically preparing me to inherit everything. The trouble started when my parents went on their annual ski trip, leaving Emma alone at the house. They explicitly told her no parties, no gatherings, keep the place clean. The day after they left, Emma called, asking for help with her small gathering. When I heard her plans involve 50 people and she wanted me to buy supplies, I refused immediately. You know what Mom and Dad said? "I'm not getting involved in this." She went ballistic, but I hung up. That night, I watched social media blow up with posts about Emma's massive party. By midnight, the police had shut it down after noise complaints. Emma got caught with Dad's expensive whiskey and a house full of underage drinkers. The next morning, 2 officers knocked on my apartment door. Emma had told them I was the one who supplied everything for the party. I was stunned. I hadn't even been near the house, and I had work security footage and bank records proving I'd been at my job and apartment all night. But they still took me to the station for questioning. I spent 12 hours being interrogated before they finally checked my alibi. My work cameras showed me leaving at p.m. and going straight home. My apartment building security footage confirmed I never left. My bank records showed no purchases that could have supplied a party. Meanwhile, Emma kept changing her story every time they questioned her. When my parents flew back early, Dad was furious, but not at me. He'd already started making calls to verify my whereabouts before they even landed. Mom, however, immediately started making excuses for Emma. "She panicked," Mom kept saying. "She didn't mean to blame you." That led to Mom coming to my apartment that night, demanding I confess to save Emma's future. When I refused, she screamed that she wished she'd aborted me and stormed out. I immediately called Dad and told him everything word for word. The morning after Mom's explosion, Dad picked me up at 7 a.m. sharp. We drove to his attorney's office, Marcus Chen, the same lawyer who'd handled Dad's business incorporation and estate planning. Marcus had been expecting us. "Your father called me at 11 p.m. last night," Marcus explained, pulling out a thick folder. "He's been documenting favoritism patterns and financial disparities in your household for over 2 years. We need to discuss protecting business assets and modifying inheritance structures." Dad had been planning this for longer than I realized. He showed me spreadsheets tracking every dollar spent on Emma versus me over the past 5 years. College preparation, $8,400 spent on her SAT tutoring, college visits and application fees. Me, $0. Car insurance, $20,100 annually for her 2019 Honda Civic that Dad bought for $18,000. I paid my own $1,400 yearly insurance on a 2014 Ford Focus I'd saved $12,000 to buy myself. The moment your mother demanded you confess to crimes you didn't commit, Marcus continued. She demonstrated she's willing to sacrifice your future for your sister's convenience. From a legal perspective, this creates serious concerns about her judgment regarding family assets. We spent 3 hours going through documentation. Dad had been recording conversations with Mom about Emma being more important and needing more support. He'd photographed evidence from childhood incidents, including the broken vase when Emma was 6 and I was 10. Mom had blamed me without asking questions, and Dad had taken pictures of Emma's fingerprints still on the pieces. Most importantly, he'd been tracking every conversation with police throughout Emma's case. Here's what we're gonna do, Marcus outlined the strategy. First, we're filing a formal complaint about your sister's false statements to police. Second, we're documenting the harassment and emotional abuse you've experienced. Third, we're restructuring your father's estate immediately. The numbers were staggering. Dad's original will left everything split 40% to Mom, 30% to me, and 30% to Emma. The new structure, 60% to me, 30% to a trust for any future grandchildren with strict management provisions, and 10% to Mom. Enough for basic living expenses, but no control over business assets. Within a week, the legal machinery was in motion. Dad hired a private investigator who documented Emma's social media posts from the party, including photos of her with Dad's liquor and timestamps proving she'd planned everything in advance. The PI's report cost $2,400 but provided irrefutable evidence of premeditation. Meanwhile, I was methodically building my own case. Every text from Mom went into an evidence folder. Every voicemail got transcribed and dated. I created spreadsheets tracking the financial impact of the false accusations. $3,200 in legal fees, $450 in lost work time for police interviews, and potential long-term career damage that could cost $200,000 plus over my working lifetime. Emma's case progressed exactly as Dad predicted. Her court-appointed attorney tried negotiating, but the evidence was overwhelming. The final judgment, $4,200 in fines, 2 years probation, 120 hours community service, and mandatory restitution to Dad for the stolen liquor. Another $340. Plus her own legal fees of $3,800 that Dad refused to pay. But the real consequences were just beginning. Dad's attorney filed a restraining order against Emma on my behalf, documenting her false accusations as harassment. This showed up on background checks, effectively destroying her college applications. 3 universities rescinded acceptance offers, and she lost $18,000 in scholarships she'd been awarded. The financial ripple effects compounded quickly. Without those scholarships, Emma would need $47,000 annually for college costs. Mom begged Dad to cover it, but he'd instructed his accountant to freeze the 529 plan pending family reconciliation through professional counseling. She can attend community college like her brother did, Dad told Mom coldly. Pay her own way and prove she's learned responsibility. Then we'll discuss releasing education funds. This triggered the biggest fight my parents ever had. Mom accused Dad of financially abusing our family. Dad's response was to hand her a detailed breakdown of his financial contributions. $78,000 annually in household expenses he covered versus her $28,000 part-time income. He suggested that if she disagreed with his financial decisions, she was welcome to support Emma independently. Mom's reality check came hard and fast. Her part-time salary couldn't cover Emma's college costs, rent for a separate apartment, or legal fees for a divorce attorney. When she consulted a lawyer about divorce, she learned that Dad's business assets were largely protected through corporate structures, and she'd be entitled to maybe $120,000 total, enough to survive, but not enough to maintain her current lifestyle or fund Emma's entitlement. Meanwhile, my own situation improved dramatically. Dad officially promoted me to assistant project manager with a salary bump to $42,000 annually plus profit sharing. He co-signed a mortgage so I could buy a $165,000 townhouse, building equity instead of paying rent. Most importantly, he began teaching me advanced business operations with the clear intention of full ownership transfer within 5 years. The contrast became impossible to ignore. While Emma struggled through community college working at Target for $30 an hour, I was learning to run a multi-million-dollar business and building real wealth. Dad calculated that my equity stake and salary trajectory would make me worth over $800,000 by age 30, while Emma's poor decisions had cost her approximately $400,000 in lost opportunities and legal expenses. Mom's attempts to pressure Dad failed completely. He'd restructured all joint accounts, giving her access to household expense money, but removing her ability to make large financial decisions. When she threatened to leave, he calmly showed her the post-nuptial agreement his attorney had drafted, outlining exactly what she'd receive in divorce proceedings. The breaking point came 18 months later. Emma had been struggling financially, working retail and barely making ends meet. During spring break of her sophomore year at community college, she stole $1,200 from Mom's purse to pay for a trip to Cancun with friends. When confronted, she used the same pattern, somehow blame me, claiming I'd influenced her to take the money because I was flaunting my success. This time, Mom couldn't deny reality. Dad's response was swift and final. He filed a police report for the theft, formally disinherited Emma beyond the minimal trust fund for future grandchildren, and presented Mom with an ultimatum: family counseling to address her favoritism patterns, or immediate separation of assets pending divorce. The counseling sessions were brutal but effective. With a neutral third party documenting everything, Mom finally grasped how her favoritism had created a monster. She saw spreadsheets proving she'd defended Emma's lies over 47 separate incidents, while dismissing my legitimate concerns every single time. More importantly, she realized the financial devastation her choices had caused. Emma's criminal record, academic failures, and entitled attitude had basically destroyed her earning potential. Meanwhile, her treatment of me had nearly cost the family its most responsible member and business successor. The counselor made Mom confront specific incidents. When Emma was 16 and crashed her car while texting, Mom had blamed the other driver and demanded Dad buy Emma a newer, safer vehicle. When Emma failed 3 classes junior year because she was partying, Mom had blamed the teachers and demanded Dad pay for expensive tutoring. When Emma got caught shoplifting at 17, Mom had blamed peer pressure and begged Dad to hire an expensive attorney to keep it off her record. Every single time, Mom had protected Emma from consequences while expecting me to be understanding and mature. The counselor calculated that Mom had made excuses for Emma's behavior 127 times over 5 years, while criticizing me for minor issues like leaving dishes in the sink or being 5 minutes late for dinner. After 6 months of counseling, Mom finally apologized to me directly. She admitted that her favoritism had been destructive and that she'd been wrong to ask me to confess to crimes I didn't commit. She also acknowledged that Dad's financial decisions were protecting the family's long-term interests, even if they felt harsh in the moment. Emma, however, never apologized. She attended the required counseling sessions, but spent most of the time arguing that everyone was being unfair to her. She insisted that her mistakes were normal teenage behavior and that the family was overreacting. When the counselor pointed out that she was now 20 years old and still blaming others for her choices, Emma stormed out and refused to return. 2 years later, Emma moved to California after finishing community college with a basic associate's degree. She'd found a retail management job paying $35,000 annually, which she claimed proved she didn't need the family's help. She left without saying goodbye to me or Dad, and only sent Mom a brief text saying she was starting fresh where people wouldn't judge her past. Mom was devastated by Emma's departure, but Dad remained firm. She made her choice, he said. We offered her a path back to the family through accountability and counseling. She chose to run away instead. Today, 5 years after the original incident, the financial scoreboard tells the complete story. Emma works retail management in Los Angeles, making $38,000 annually while paying $20,100 monthly rent for a studio apartment. She's effectively estranged from the family and blocked from any significant inheritance. Her lifetime financial losses from this incident exceed $750,000 when you calculate lost education opportunities, career damage, and inheritance reduction. I'm now earning $95,000 as operations manager of Dad's company, own $140,000 in real estate equity, and stand to inherit approximately $2.8 million in business and properties. Dad's financial advisor estimates my net worth will exceed $2 million by age 35, exclusively because I chose integrity over family loyalty when it mattered. Mom learned the hardest lesson of all. Favoritism isn't love, it's enabling. Her misguided protection cost Emma everything, while nearly destroying her relationship with her responsible child and competent husband. She now works full-time as a dental office manager, earning $45,000 annually, and contributes more equally to household expenses. She's earned back trust through consistent actions rather than empty promises. The most telling moment came last Christmas when Emma called Mom asking for $5,000 to cover rent and car repairs. Mom, for the first time in Emma's life, said no. "You need to handle your own responsibilities," Mom told her. "That's what adults do." Emma hung up and hasn't called since. "Dad and I have built something stronger than we ever had before. He's teaching me advanced business strategy, and we're expanding into commercial development projects worth $15 million over the next 3 years. Our relationship is based on mutual respect and shared work ethic, not guilt or obligation. My parents' marriage survived, but it's fundamentally different now." Dad made it clear that any future favoritism toward Emma would result in immediate divorce proceedings. Mom attends individual therapy twice monthly and has completely changed how she handles family conflicts. She no longer makes excuses for poor behavior and has learned to support accountability over comfort. The key lesson here isn't about family drama. It's about strategic patience and documentation. When people show you who they really are through their choices, believe them immediately and protect yourself accordingly. Dad's methodical approach to evidence gathering and financial restructuring turned what could have been a devastating family crisis into a clear demonstration of consequences for poor character. If you're facing similar situations, start documenting everything immediately. Keep detailed records, consult professionals early, and don't let guilt prevent you from protecting your legitimate interests. Family relationships built on enabling bad behavior aren't worth preserving, and the people who truly care about you will support accountability over comfort. Emma made her choices, Mom enabled those choices, and they both paid the full financial and personal price. Meanwhile, the family members who chose integrity and responsibility built something stronger and more prosperous than before. Sometimes the best way to help people is to stop protecting them from the natural consequences of their actions. As Dad always says, character isn't what you do when people are watching, it's what you do when you think nobody will find out. Emma thought she could lie her way out of consequences and throw me under the bus to save herself. She learned that actions have permanent consequences, and some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt.